Wanna cause no problems. I just wanna live my life, but I keep on hearing about nonsense. Me and my dons ain't mobsters, but you know when you see imposters. We know how to read them faces, same way you know how to read them comments. If you wanna talk, let's talk, but around here, make sure you walk and your talk is constant.
Hey everybody, and thank you so much for watching the Death to Vanilla podcast. So excited to have you here, and we share ideas, thoughts, experiences that will help you courageously create, boldly innovate, and experiment. Why? So that you can enjoy better than usual results by doing things that are out of the box that are going to get you noticed. By definition, the death to vanilla. So I'm your host, Stephen Burkhart, and this is my co-host.
I'm Rylynn Trader.
We're with Burkhart Creative Agency, and we put together this podcast because we really want to help business owners succeed. And one of the ways that we help people do that is by creating content. Now, granted, you may be making your own content, and this will be helpful for you because it'll help you think differently about what you make. And today, we wanted to challenge you with some concepts. And the first one I wanted to talk about is building trust through transparency. And one of the ways that I do this personally is, especially through my own personal brand account, _ Stephen Burkhart, is I share stories about us building our business, right? So I'm not trying to push our agenda or sell any services or whatever. I'm just sharing my journey as a business owner who is learning how to build a business and the things that we learn along the way. Some of them are painful lessons. Some of them are exciting and celebrations, and other things are just interesting. And one of the things that I shared with, the last, I think it was probably 2-3 months ago from the date where they were recording now in August, I had wanted to do a very small, intimate mastermind, a group version of one I did one-on-one with a client of ours, where we walked through all their brand messaging. We created their mission statement and their why statement. And all that was really important because the brand was new and because we needed to have those questions answered before we could start creating content for them. Those are questions that need to be answered. And so that's what the process we went through. And I wanted to create a master class to be able to do that in a group setting. It was going to be free. I had it on Evite, spent a little bit of ad money, got some people signed up. Well, nobody showed up. Not one single person. And granted, I capped it at 12. I had probably 5 people that signed up, and for the very first one, I was going to be happy with that. And then nobody showed up, and that was slightly sad. But it was just like a really great learning lesson. And I ended up sharing that on my Instagram stories that nobody showed up. Now, most of the time, people do not want to share their failures or just unfortunate things that happen, right? I don't know if I failed per se, but, it was definitely not a highlight. And the reason I felt empowered to do that is because I had recently read a book called Soundtracks by John Acuff, and he shared a story about the very first time he got the opportunity when he was very first starting to have like a breakout room at a conference. So in person, the whole thing, he was super pumped about it. He was waiting for the whole room to be full of people just falling over themselves to hear his wisdom. And like one guy showed up, one guy. And so he did a great job. He talked to the guy, shared his wisdom with him, connected with him, took a picture of the big empty room with this one guy in it, and wrote a whole blog post that he ended up putting on his blog. He said, to date, that is the highest trafficked blog post he has on his website. Wow, is him sharing about that failure. And his transparency in doing so and the willingness to be vulnerable has gained him more traffic than he could ever possibly imagine. And so I felt comfortable to be able to share my story to see if that might connect with someone who's been brave and wanted to be bold and step out and do something new for the very, very first time, and it just didn't go well. And so I wanted to do that and be vulnerable, and that's how we've seen other people do it. That's how we decided to do it, and that's how I share my vulnerabilities is on that way, on that account, and I believe it helps build connection. So that's how I've gone about building that transparency. But in speaking about being bold, I think you have some ideas on how being bold can connect with people just as much as transparency can.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing we had just kind of talked about when we were preparing for this is kind of unpopular opinions, right? It's bold, a little controversial, but not so controversial you're going to get canceled, right? It's like, this is my unpopular opinion. Here it is. It's transparent, it's authentic, it's bold, and it's BA. Those are our goals that we're going for. And it's unforgettable, right? You're like, oh my gosh, this person believes this. This is so crazy. And whether or not you agree with it or disagree with it, you're not going to forget it. Remember, like, this is something that's like a little different, a little off, and this is so easy for brands to do. You know, like, as a business owner, I think that sometimes people overthink and overdo stuff. And like, I really want people to engage with my content. This is such like a little thing. It can be like, oh, I think that pickles should go on hot dogs, or, you know, it could be something so simple, but something that's unforgettable. It engages your users. And it's a great way for you to be bold in your branding.
For sure. I think that there's probably a little bit of caution you should have in doing so. You know, I could have an unpopular opinion that may not get me canceled, but it may disqualify me from being hired.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, you can obviously have an opinion that isn't going to be popular, and that could be very, very negative. Right. But I mean, like, I know this is like super like tired and not bold enough anymore, but I mean, like, think about when people are like, oh, unpopular opinion, I like pineapple on pizza. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Not popular.
Yeah.
Lots of people don't like that. And so, but you know, that's obviously not bold enough, but that's an example of like, you can say something bold and unpopular and still be hireable.
Yes.
Right?
Don't get too bold.
Right? So walk us through maybe a couple examples that would make sense to be like unpopular and bold, but not so much so that like someone would be like, oh, well, I was going to hire you, but now I'm not.
Yeah. So I think a good example of this is like maybe a carpenter or something, or like an interior designer, and maybe something that's like your controversial opinion or your unpopular opinion is that you didn't like this season's like big popular color that everyone's doing, right? I think right now a big thing is like a green color in the kitchen or like in the house, and kind of going for like that overall like vibe, if anyone's seen that. And maybe just saying you don't think that that's a great idea, or you don't like that color, or you want to do this color instead. It's a very small and minor unpopular opinion, but it's relevant to your audience. It's not overdone, and it can still like engage people and comment, and they can say why either they like it or they agree with you. They don't like it either, you know? I think that's a good way to get engagement while also, you know, making yourself unforgettable.
For sure. I think that, to your point, like maybe, especially if you have a very good, like if there's a real logical or creative reason why you have the unpopular opinion, like maybe like, you know, to your point, like maybe you think that like plum is the best color ever for your interior paint, right? But maybe you have like some really killer examples of why that looks so good, right? Because then you like, you take something that like gets people a little shocked, like, ew, I would never have plum.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have plum. But let's just say, right, that you like hate plum, and you heard that, oh, that interior designer like loves plum and thinks that's the greatest thing ever. But then they go and they show you these crazy things, and you're like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought it could have looked that good.
Right.
Now you've actually gone from just sharing an unpopular opinion to being a little bit of a subject matter expert, actually, because
and getting to showcase your work too.
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, I think like no matter what like trade or occupation you're in, if you're a business owner, you've started a business because you have opinions. Like otherwise you would just go work for someone else, or at least, you know, or find someone that you have opinions that you share, and then you work for them. But, you know, like you have opinions if you start your own business. So I'm sure you know some opinions that you have that are not shared by all, that are tasteful, that are not going to get you fired, but at least get people stirred up a little bit. And it's going to have that bold effect that you're looking to have.
Yeah. That's vanilla.
That's right. Sweet. Well, thank you for watching. Please share with us. Have you done something bold, something out of the box, something maybe not not ordinary for your industry, right? It doesn't have to be absolutely crazy. It just has to be a little different, a little bold for your industry to help you stand out from the competition. If you've done something that has been bold, like share it with us. Let us know. Shoot us a link to it. Send us a DM, comment, whatever. Get a hold of us and share that with you. If you are having challenges being bold in your business, feel free to reach out. We literally do video marketing and social media marketing for a living. We'd love to be able to help you out, even just like for free, just like give you a little idea of like a direction you could take. We'd be happy to do that. Just reach out to us, schedule time with us, and we'd love to be able to help you out in that way, because we started our business to be able to help small business owners succeed and achieve their dreams. And so if we can help you do that, we want to. So thank you so much for watching the Death of Vanilla podcast, and we'll catch you next time. Hey.
Wanna cause no problems. I just wanna live my life, but I keep on hearing about nonsense. Me and my dons ain't mobsters, but you know when you see imposters. We know how to read them faces, same way you know how to read them comments. If you wanna talk, let's talk, but around here, make sure you walk and your talk is constant.